What's up everybody, and welcome back to Operation Overhaul. And today we're working on a 91 Accord, and we're going to be doing a tune-up on it with plugs, wires, cap, a rotor button, air filter, and fuel filter. So if you would, just stick with me and chum on. Like I said in the intro, we're going to be doing spark plugs, wires, distributor cap, and rotor button on this. And we're going to do the air filter and fuel filter as well, but we'll get to that in just a second. The first thing we want to do is go ahead and pull the plugs out of this. It's pretty straightforward on here. Just pull them straight up and the plug wire should come right off. Looks like we have a little bit of a valve cover leak on here as well. I'm going to leave these like this on the cap, and I'm going to pull this whole cap assembly off with the wires on it just so I know where they go and make sure we get it back in time right. Okay, so these use a 5/8 plug, and I'm just going to put them in here and loosen them up a little bit before I use my impact driver. Once they're loosened up, you should be able to just pull them right out with this. And you can see they don't look too bad. They're not horrible on this one. The electrode tip is starting to wear out on it. Here are the plugs that I went with. These are NGK iridiums, and the part numbers are right there. And I will put this in the description so everybody has it. Okay. I like to put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads before I put them in. Then I just start them by hand. And you can run them down with the impact driver a little bit. We'll do that to every one of them, and then we'll go back and tighten them down a little bit more with the hand ratchet, just so we don't over tighten them. Alright, now that those are started and seated down, we're going to tighten them up just a little bit with a little bit of pressure, nothing major. And the gap is preset on these plugs already. Now we can take the distributor cap off, and there's 3 bolts on here, and they're 8mm. You can also use a Phillips head to take these off as well, but I like to use the 8mm just because that way you don't strip it out. And this back one's a little bit harder to get to. Once they're loose, you should be able to use your fingers to pull them off. And you do have to reuse the screws most of the time on these. Sometimes they'll come with new ones. That's what the screws look like right there. Like I said, they do have a Phillips head on the top of them too. I don't know how well you can see that in there, but the contact tips are starting to build up a little bit of corrosion on them. Now the rotor buttons should just pry off, but they can get stuck sometimes. Yeah, that one's on there pretty good. Let me try to get a screwdriver or something under it. Well, the back of it broke off. Now we can take this cover off so we can get underneath the rest of it. Just be careful not to break anything. All right, let me see if I can get this off, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so we got the rotor button off. This one right here had a screw in it, and that's why it wouldn't come off. But here's the new one. It doesn't use a screw, and it can only go on one way. The screw is actually in on the rounded portion of that one as well. That right there is the part number for the rotor button. So put your cover back on, and it snaps down, and there is a flat spot on it, and it just pushes on. Also inside of here there is a little rubber gasket that comes with the new distributor cap. We're going to use like a little right angle pick to pull this out. If we can get underneath it. There it goes. Oh yeah, and she is brittle. See how that just broke? Here's the new one right here. You can see how flexible it is. This is the new distributor cap, and that is the part number for it. Like I said, we left the wires on the old one just so we know which cylinders are which on here, because sometimes it can be different than what the factory had if somebody changed the distributor before. And these are the spark plug wires, and that's the part number. It does come with a coil wire, but we're not going to use that because we don't have a coil that goes to it externally. And I take them out of the holders just so that you can measure and make sure it's the right length. When you're pushing these down in there, be careful not to bend the metal piece in there. Just push straight down with your thumb and make sure it seats in. You'll feel it click whenever it goes in. I'm going to put just a little bit of dielectric grease inside the tips of these. Alright, now we're going to go back to the car and put these on. Alright, like I said, this only goes on one way. Just push it down in there and set it in, and it should fall right into place. Now we can start our screws by hand just to make sure that they're not binding or any of that good stuff. You don't have to tighten these super tight because it will crack the plastic, and we do not want to do that. Alright, and that's putting the distributor cap, rotor button, and plug wires and plugs in this. Like I said, now we're going to move on to the air filter and the fuel filter. I'm just going to make sure that these are seated down all the way before I go on. So the air filter box is right here, and it uses 8mm as well. There should be 4 of them. Actually, this filter is really good, so what we'll do, we'll just hang on to that one, and whenever it gets dirty we'll do it later. But That one right there actually looked really good. Now we're going to move on to the fuel filter. The fuel filter is right here behind the throttle body, or right in front of it actually. And to get to it, you're going to have to remove this vacuum box right here. It's just held on with two 10mm on each side. There's one right there and one right there. I already took those off just so I can show you where the fuel filter is. Then to remove the fuel filter, you'll have two lines going in it. One's a banjo style fitting and one's just a regular like pipe thread fitting in there. And then once you remove that, there's a 10mm right here, and you take that off and you should be able to slide the fuel filter up. But I'm going to remove this because it's going to be kind of hard to film this, and once I get it out I'll show you. So here's the old fuel filter. The banjo bolt one is a 17 and the regular thread in one is a 14mm. Then to get it out, there's a band that wraps around it and it's held in with a 10mm. It's a little bit of a pain to get to, but once you take that bolt all the way out, the lip on the back side actually hooks into the bracket to help hold it as well. So when you pull it out, you'll have to tilt it and then pull it out and up. This is the new one, and that is the part number right there. And also I forgot to show you the part number to the air filter, which is right there. But I'm going to stick this back on, and then we're going to prime it, and I'll show you how we prime it, and then I'll be right back. So to prime it, all we're going to do is stick the key in it and turn it to the on position. And I like to wait till the check engine light goes out and turn it back off. I'll do that about 2 or 3 times. And then we'll crank it up and let it run for a minute, because sometimes if you didn't prime it all the way, or if like the copper washer or something like that is leaking, it can actually starve the fuel filter and can cut off. So just let it run for probably 2 or 3 minutes just to make sure that it's filling it back up. And while you do that, check and make sure that it's not leaking anywhere. And this right here will also let you know if you put your spark plugs back on right, or spark plug wires on right, because if you didn't, you'll definitely be misfiring at this point. But she seems to be running good right now, and I'm gonna let her run for a little bit just to make sure that it doesn't starve the system. And if you like the video, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you have any comments, concerns, or anything, leave them down below. And if you would, follow my Instagram, because that right there, if I get enough followers on there, to help support the channel. And I'm probably going to be doing a website soon, where I probably might do like some stickers and maybe even t-shirts and stuff soon. But I'm just going to try it out first to see how that goes. And if you enjoy the content, like I said, please like it and go follow me everywhere else. And until next time, y'all have a great day.